Hey everyone, I'm 2-Ton Streamer, and today we're going to cover the basics of taming in Ark Survival Evolved. Many people may or may not realize just how important taming is, and that it can be very beneficial on just about every front you can imagine within the game. So why exactly is taming important? Well, taming is important because through tamed creatures you can freely and safely roam and investigate the island, and this can be through flight or with the help of a quick or apex predator. You can also collect an abundance of a resource much faster than you can by hand. If you've ever built a 20 by 20 base out of stone, you know the struggle of collecting stone by hand and just how slow going that can be. Why not tame a Doedicurus and make collecting stone something that goes by much faster? And next, through selective taming, you can begin to breed your own high-level dinos, which can really help you create stellar performers that you cannot otherwise find out in the wild. You can also begin breeding high-level dinos for trade with others on the island, which is just as cool as it sounds. Taming is also just plain cool, and a feature that you do not find in many games, and it helps to create a nice bond between you and your virtual dino, which makes it all the more heartbreaking when you accidentally get it killed. Torpor, taming bar, bonus levels. What does it all mean? Alright, so let's begin taming basics first. Dinos have a taming bar, which you can only see when you are close to them, and it looks just like this. The top purple part is full when the dino goes down, and this is how knocked out he or she may be. If it runs out of purple, the dino wakes up. That's pretty simple. You need to keep that bar up. So how do you keep the bar up? Well, once you get the dino down and the bar is about halfway, you want to load him up with narco berries, or even better yet, narco pots, which you made from narco berries. 5 berries and 1 spoiled meat make up a narcotic pot. Each narco berry adds 7 points of that torpor to the purple bar, and a narcotic pot adds 35, which is those 5 narco berries it took to make the pot, times 5, giving you the 35. To see the number value of that purple bar, just hit F when you're next to the passed out dino and look right about here. You see this number right here. Okay, that is what they call the torpor, which just means the consciousness level of the dino. The number counts down backward, so when it reaches 0, the dino wakes up. And, coincidentally, the purple bar will also be completely drained, means the same thing. So, using the purple bar, you can quickly eye if it's halfway. And when it's halfway, I like to hit F to look at the number. So let's say that you need 500 points to fill it back up again. So keep this in mind. Every 3 narco pots is a little more than 100 points. So 15 pots would be what you force feed the dino here in this instance. To force feed the dino, you just put the pots, you drag them over into the inventory of the dinos from your inventory, as you see here. And then, down at the bottom, hit the remote use item button, which is found here. So you'd hit it 15 times to feed the dino the 15 pots. Then you should notice the torpor level rising again, but it's slow. With some dinos like the Gallimimus, and I also believe the beaver, their torpor drops super fast. So when you'll need to watch it and sit there with them and let it drop to half just like you do with the others, and then load it up with enough narcos to top it off again. And like I said, as it's rising it'll go slow, but as soon as it hits the max amount it drops fast. So those tames you'll need to babysit really closely, and they'll also require 2 to 3 times the normal amount of narco pots usually. Alright, the last bit of taming info deals with bonus levels. So when you look at the knocked out dinos pop up right here, you'll need to wait until it's taken a bite of food. And once it does, you'll see a percentage here. Now, you want this percentage to be as close to 100% as possible in order to get the maximum amount of bonus levels for your dino. So, what is a bonus level? The bonus level is a number of additional levels your dino will receive when it wakes up. If you get 100% of its bonus levels, you can expect to get about 50% of its original level in addition to the levels. So if you tamed a level 100 parasaur, for instance, and you tamed it at 100%, you would get a 149 or a 150 tamed parasaur. So how do you keep that 100% up? Well, it's quite simple. You can't hit the dino extra times when you're knocking it out. So like hitting it with an extra arrow can severely drop that percentage. And once the percentage drops, you cannot get it back up. You can also not allow anything else to hit it while it's unconscious. That includes dilos that may come up, or any other kind of predator that may come up and see it on the ground and start, taking bites out of it. Even like if you're on your T-Rex and you come up close to it, you could accidentally step on it, and that can also drop the level, as well as accidentally punching it when you're accessing the inventory. So you really need to be careful when those dinos are down. If you do happen to have like a really great tame and you're really kind of pissed off that you accidentally hit it, or some stupid dilo came and accidentally hit it, what you can do, depending on the animal, is you can let it wake up and then knock it back out. So what you could do is you could like build something around it to where it couldn't escape, like say it's an Argent or a Quets and you had on the ground. You could build something where it couldn't fly off, and you could safely stand back and shoot it and knock it back out. Just remember that it takes them a while to wake up, so you're gonna have to force feed it stem berries, and even then it still takes a while, but it's still possible to do. So let's also go ahead and talk about kibble. Okay, so all dinos have a kibble. Just about all. I think there's like one or two that don't. But most dinos have a kibble, and that's something that you can craft from all these dino eggs you're probably getting. And it takes some veggies and a few other things, and you throw them on a cooking pot, and you can make kibble. And this is like the fastest way that you can tame something. So there are websites out there you can look up to show you how to make the kibbles and like which dino prefers which kibble. And there's also an app. And there's a taming app you can get for your phone, and on that app, it'll not only tell you how many like narco berries you need to knock something out, or how much prime meat or how much kibble it would take, but it'll also tell you the favorite kibble that dino prefers as well. And if you don't have kibble, then generally for berry eaters, you'll want to feed them the purple berries, because most of those dinos seem to favor those as of now anyway. That may change later because it's kind of been that way forever. It won't get you 100%, but it'll be better than all the other berries. And for carnivores, of course, prime meat is the way you want to go. It's almost as fast as kibble, really, and it usually keeps it close to 100% as well. Alright, so now that taming and bonus levels and all that makes sense, a light bulb should have clicked and you're like, wait a minute, I could have got a higher level Megalodon or whatever. So now, for those of you who don't know, what do you need in order to tame a dino? Alright, so it's going to depend on what kind of dino you're wanting to tame. At the moment, there are 3 types of knockout methods, and depending on which dino you want to tame will depend on how you knock it out. So here are the 3 methods of knocking out a dino as of this video. Knocking it out with narcotics, where you're basically shooting it with either trank arrows or darts until it falls down unconscious. Pretty simple, right? There's passive taming a dino, where you hand feed it until it gains enough trust or affection for you and it tames. And then there's the newest method, which is the blunt force trauma, and it features specifically for the Titanosaur, where you're using boulders or cannonballs shot repeatedly at its head until you knock it out. Sounds pretty barbaric, right? Alright, so let's go over some examples of each of these methods. Let's go a little bit more in depth here. So the most common way to knock out a dino is to find the one you want and get close enough to it and either shoot it with a trank arrow or a trank dart. This method covers probably 90% of the dinos you will want to tame. From there, it's simply a matter of staying alive long enough to shoot the beast until it falls down. Most dinos on the island will chase you, so it's best to use height to your advantage or speed when trying to knock a dino out. There are also creative traps you can build, or taming stands either on the ground or on a raft, or even a dino with a platform saddle, and you can safely knock them out from those. I usually build taming stands near a specific area where I want to tame a dino, like a frog for instance, because you don't want to get licked by one of those, so hide is your friend on one of those. How many arrows will you need? I use a taming calculator, as I spoke about earlier, that's on my phone, and you just put in the level of the dino, so if it's like a level 80 frog, and it will tell you the taming, you also have to put in the taming speed, of the server that you're on. So if you're on a, not on an official server, but you're on someone else's, and they have the taming speed set, you can put that on the calculator as well, and it'll take that into account, and because the faster the speed, the less stuff you're going to need, of course. Do keep in mind that you're going to need enough narcotic arrows as well as the narcotics themselves, the narcotic pots, because you're going to have to keep the animal asleep once you get it down. Some of the newer dinos have a quick drop torpor meter, which I spoke about earlier, so you're really going to have to babysit those, and make sure you have enough. You'll also need food for the dinos, so meat for meat eaters and berries for herbivores. And you can also use kibble or prime meat, which I also discussed. My general rule of thumb is to have 1 narcotic arrow and 2 narcotic pots for each level of the dino you're wanting to take down. So basically a level 80 Argent would need 80 arrows and 160 narcotic pots to take it down. This is just like a guesstimate. If you're on the fly and you really are trying to hurry up and you're just trying to guess and you don't have time for an app or whatnot. So that's kind of a general rule of thumb. Now this can change depending on some of the different animals. Some of them are harder to knock down, but generally speaking, if you just really want to hurry up and get out there, just go with that method. Alright, so let's talk about the passive taming method. And this can be a bit more tricky. It involves you sneaking, in most cases, behind an animal and with their preferred food in your 0 key of your hotbar. So when you're close enough, you see a message like you do here, which says press E to feed. I use R for mine, but it'll be E for you. So you'll hand feed the creature and then hurry up and get away from it. So and this usually works for like the bugs, the little monkey, the big monkey, and you need to be careful with the 2 monkeys because they can be kind of difficult. If they sense you at all, the little monkey will run, the big monkey will attack. So you have to be really careful. And honestly, especially with the big monkey, I would, well, both of them really, but I would just do kibble tames on those because it's so much faster. It can take you like an hour to do just a regular tame one of those, but if you use kibble, it's usually over in like 15-20 minutes. So definitely a time saver. And the kibble for those are pretty common ones. I think Dodo is one, and maybe Dilo for both of those. When it comes to the manta ray, the beetles, and the centipedes, you'll basically wear bug spray for those. I know bug spray sounds funny to wear in the water for the manta ray, but it's what you have to use so they don't detect you. They can still detect you, so you can't like just swim all up in their face and everything. But if you stay behind them a little bit and have the food ready in your 0 slot key, and just get behind them and feed them, and then just swim away from them until it's been a few minutes and that they're ready to eat again, you should be good. The beetles are pretty easy. For them, you use poop. And the centipedes, I believe, use spoiled meat. It's been a couple of months since I've tamed one of them now, but I believe they're one of the other ones that use spoiled meat besides the scorpion. Scorpion is not a passive tame, by the way. You will have to knock that out, so don't go sneaking up behind a scorpion. Alright, dolphins, they use the same method, only they're like all up in your face. If you go out there and feed one, they pretty much won't leave you alone, and you'll have to beat them off with your stick or whatever to get them away from you. But they're pretty easy. Alright, so let's talk the blunt force trauma method real quick. As I stated earlier, it's only for the Titano. It's pretty new. It's pretty brutal, like I said earlier. I have not yet tamed one of these ginormous beasts, but I can tell you that cannonballs do work best. And if you can have more than one person shooting cannonballs, it's probably a lot easier, especially if you're going to load up a Quets and throw some cannons on it like I was attempting to do here in this video just to show you. It's better to have someone driving and you yelling at the person, go left, turn left, no left, or whatever. So definitely that seems like a good team beast. Also, if you're on official servers, they're only tame for a day. So I guess they don't want them too OP, and you'll only find like 2 or 3 on a server at once. But if you play on your own server or someone else's server, they may have permatame on, so if you tame it, it'll be yours until it dies or whatever else happens. Alright, so I got the supplies, I understand how it works. How do I knock out this or that dino? Alright, so here's some tips for knocking out various dinos. For trikes, I'd say spend your first few level up points in game on stamina and run speed. And then once you're around level 15, that's when you can make the trike saddle. It'll be one of the first dinos you want to tame, probably. Some people are already taming dodos and dilos or whatnot, but this is going to be one of the ones, one of your first harvest dinos. So you'll roughly need about, I don't know, anywhere from 40 to maybe 70 narc arrows, depending on the level of trike you're trying to take down. You can also use slingshot with rocks. You have to get much closer, and you run the risk of being killed or hit a lot, so just be careful with that. But I've seen lots of people knock out trikes with slingshots, so it's definitely doable. It's a lot cheaper on you too. You can also try to get the trike stuck somewhere, like in between 2 trees here, like I did in this video. And or you can use height and safely shoot it, like get on top of your house. It's pretty good for like a sloped roof if your first little house has a sloped roof on it. Regardless, you'll need one of these to start getting your narco berry inventory up, because they're pretty good at collecting berries for that level, and they also collect thatch as well. So if you want to tame these with a bow and arrow, you should be able to outrun them, then turn around and shoot them, rinse and repeat. It's pretty easy. Okay, so let's talk raptors. So these guys are pretty fast, and they may be one of your very first carnivores, if not the first carnivore that you get. I don't remember what level the saddle is. I think it's in my other video that you can definitely check out, beginner tips. But they don't take many trank arrows to get down, I know that, but they will kill you really fast. So it's one of those things where you probably are not going to be able to outrun them, especially trying to outrun them and shoot. So your best bet is to probably try to get some height on them as well and knock them out that way. Using a house or something is pretty good, because they'll just sit there and attack the house. And you will need a carnivore pretty early. It's a good way to get meat. And as you know from trying to spoil meat, that you are definitely going to need meat. And if you don't know about my spoiling meat trick, which a lot of people have covered as well, but it's on my beginner video, you should definitely check that out, because there's a really quick way to spoil a lot of meat at one time. You can pretty much spoil as much as you want in your inventory, just by splitting up the stacks down to one. So check that out. Alright, goody goody, this is my favorite. This is my all-star mount. They can be tricky to tame, and because they can pretty much knock you out with their tongue. And if you don't know what I'm talking about at this point, it's definitely not your fork-tongued ex-girlfriend. This is the frog. They're also in the swamp, and that can be a pretty hard tame. So I recommend you build a taming stand for these guys. So to build a taming stand, if you're not sure how to do it, you're going to make 4 or 5 pillars, then 4 to 5 ladders, as many ladders as you have pillars. A hatch frame, which you don't have to have a hatch frame, but I like to make it look nice. And then you want as many ceilings as you want. I generally go probably about 4 or so, make like a cross pattern. And I'd also take a bed in case you fall off and die somehow, or just die period, because snakes are everywhere, and so are crocodiles and dragonflies, and pretty much, and now leeches as well, so it's just like good grief. So travel to the border of a swamp. Don't go straight into one. Go like to where you can find like a clear beach and kind of clear it out a little bit. If you have if you already have your raptor with you, go ahead and take your raptor and kind of clear the area out. But keep him on passive, so when you start taming, you start shooting the frog, he doesn't join in and kill it for you. So hopefully you should see some frogs hopping about. So that's where I'd pretty much build your pillars. Some of them hop in the water and it's kind of a pain in the ass, but just that's why I try to at least see a couple frogs, so I know that I'm not just relying on one. For your first frog, doesn't matter what level you get. I mean, nobody wants like a super low level, but you don't have to go looking for the super highest one, because the next animal we're going to talk about is going to allow you to pretty much get whatever one you want and tame it on your terms. And taming it on your terms is what you want to do. Alright, so you go ahead, drop down your pillars, throw your ceilings up there, your hatch frame, put the ladders up, throw your bed up there, you're good to go. You may want to take a small storage box and go ahead and load up the majority of your arrows, maybe your narcs, and a couple spare bows, because bows break like crazy, and nothing worse than getting something halfway down and your bow breaking and you're trying to run around to repair it while you're also being chased. So yeah. So anyway, go ahead and get your trank arrows going. It doesn't take many trank arrows to take a frog out. Not that I remember, it didn't seem to. But you got to go out on foot. Like I said, be careful, watch out for those snakes that creep up behind you. And shoot your frog. Kind of kite him back a little bit. Have him chase you towards your stand. Get him over there. Make sure you leave enough room, though, to where you can get up the ladder and the frog doesn't lick you and you pass out at the bottom of the ladder and then get killed. So you found Mr. Frog, you've knocked it out. He should be down at the bottom of your taming stand, and you're pretty much good to go. Just make sure that you kind of defend it really well, because there's so much stuff that just keeps spawning in the swamp. Even dilos are going to come up trying to get your stuff, so you should be good after you get that frog. Alright, here's the first, I'd say, awesome mount you're going to get, and it's the Argent. The first flyer you get that you can tame is the Pteranodon. And that's a great mount for scouting. It's great for going out doing the light beacon hunting, but it's terrible for carry weight. or flying long distances, unless you've really been able to pump up, some stamina on it. The much better flying mount for all things weight and also for taming other dinos is the Argent, and then of course later on the Quits. So if you play on a server where you're able to pick up people or dinos with an Argent or a Quits, then this is a huge game changer here. But how do you tame these flying birds of prey? Well, I like to choose a nice location that's clear, usually a beach, where there's not much there. The beach across from Carno Island in the northeast, it has some good spots. There's a lot of other predators there, but if you can kind of hit the border where there's not many predators, or if you can clear it out a little bit, usually there's sabers there, maybe some T-Rexes, but usually somewhere on that shore you can find some Argents flying overhead. And you should be able to get a spot to where it's kind of clear, and go ahead and clear it if it's not. Alright, so you have the Argent. He's spotted you. He's coming down after you. Alright, so as soon as you know it's on you, run this is a good time to go ahead and try to move the tame as well. Especially if you had to clear out an area, you don't want to stick in that area a little bit. So go ahead and run back to where you know it was safer. Make sure the Argent's following you. Keep attracting it. Turn around and try to shoot it a little bit. Just try not to shoot it in the head. It's very important. Don't shoot it in the face. So I'd say your life on you needs to be around 300 at this point, and it should be because you have to be at 55 to make the saddle. So that shouldn't be a problem. You'll probably need a little bit more stamina, probably around 250, but and speed of course helps. All right, so the bird's on you, and he's coming in attack formation, and you're ready to drop it. So you run, and it's just look at what I'm doing here in the video. Don't shoot it in the face, like I said. And as soon as it's almost at you, jump off to the side there, dodge it, and then shoot it side. It's going to swing around, and you just keep doing that over and over again. It flies towards you, avoid shooting it in the face, shoot it in the side, and if you have the timing down right, you can do it without even getting hit. So it's a really basic, it's a nice little flow you kind of get used to. So just sidestep it, bam, shoot it, sidestep it, shoot it, and you'll get the thing down before you know it. And just watch me in this video a couple times just to see the rhythm. And yeah, so once he's down, load him up with meat, preferably prime meat, because you definitely want to get as many levels on these things as you can. And so now, you also want to guard it as well, make sure nothing else is going to hit it. And like I said, this is a good point to bring up also at this point. If you don't have prime meat on you, but there's something close by that you could get prime from, don't put anything on it at all. Let him sit there and starve for a minute. Because the way it works is, if you just put regular meat on him, well, that's going to count against you on your bonus levels, because it's not the best meat, it's not prime. But if you let it starve and you've never put anything on it, then it's just sitting there in limbo, basically. And so it gives you time to run out and go get some prime meat, come back, and load it on there. And the great thing about it is when they take a bite, it's usually after about 100 food is lost. So let's say they have 1,000 food. Their stat shows 1,000 food. That number's coming down. And so when it hits 900, if he had food on him, he'd take a bite. It'd go back up to 1,000 instantly. Okay, so if there's no food there, it just keeps dropping. So if it gets down to 500 and you throw on 5 prime meat, he's going to eat. Boom, it's back up to 1,000, and he's also tamed all that. So it's kind of a way, it looks like it's insta-taming, but really it's not, because the time's the same. So yeah, that's a really neat trick. And like I said, once you have the Argent, game changing. Okay, so why is the Argent so game changing? Well, it's pretty easy. Besides the obvious advantage of taking a weight-leveled bird up to the crater mountain to grab a bunch of raw metal or obsidian and being able to bring it back down faster than traveling on land, you can also pick up quite a few dinos if that option's enabled on your server. And then you can drop these dinos into a taming pin for controlled taming. So what's controlled taming? Well, controlled taming is where you're doing it in an area where you can control the elements. So nothing can suddenly sneak up on it and attack it and knock off some of those valuable bonus levels that we talked about earlier. Alright, so here is a basic taming pin design. You can change it any way you want. You can mix it up, but this is just a basic one. What you do is you make the floor, I'd say maybe 4 by 5 or 6 or something like that. That'll be your foundations, 4 by 6, 4 by 5 somewhere. And then your walls, you want to put them about 4 high. On one end of it, you're going to put a small dino gate, and on the other, you can put a regular door. And what you can do also is you can place one of these in an area where you know there's like T-Rexes or whatnot, and you can get a T-Rex to come chase after you, run through that door, run through the door. They can fit through that gate, so he'll run into the gate, into the pen. You can run out the back door, turn around, and close that gate, or have another tribe mate with you that can close the pen for you. And then you can get on top of it. For a T-Rex, you're probably going to want it to be, I think, around 7 or 8 walls high, wherever you're going to be shooting from. But other than that, you just get up there and you can take it out really easily from this method. So once you have your dino pin built, this dino pin is real versatile, and you can either build it close to your base, or like I said, you can build it out in the middle where there's like a lot of dangerous wild things at. So once you have your Argent, go out flying around, and when you come upon a dino that you want to carry, just swoop down, pick it up by right-clicking. And once you pick it up, just carry it all the way back to your dino pen, drop it off in there, and then go up to the top and safely knock it out while it's trapped inside. It's also a better way to do it because they can't really attack you also. Argents can carry raptors, sabers, direwolves, beavers, and most of the smaller dinos. So once you're able to get a Quets though, then those Quetses can carry everything else except a T-Rex, Bronto, Giga, and of course the new Titano. But everything else is fair game. Alright, so how do you tame a Quets? Well, if you're solo, this is going to be almost impossible for you to do, at least for your first Quets. It'll be easier to just trade with someone on the island, or maybe for an egg, or maybe they actually have a Quets that they don't mind trading for. But it's really meant to be a tame where you do with another person. And so basically what you have them do is you have an Argent, and you have your tribe mate pick you up with the Argent claws, while you carry a rifle and tranq darts. I wouldn't go with the arrows. A lot of times the arrows tend to kill them, kind of accidentally. And basically, so your tribe mate will fly you with it, with you in its clutches, and you'll be shooting from the view of the bird. And once you shoot a Quets, it kind of flies off a little bit and takes off, and you just have your teammate follow along. Make sure you watch your stamina. And so the Argent, that way there you don't, because if you run out of stamina while you're on the Argent, you'll both plummet to your death. Also, if you happen to notice that you guys, you crash, your computer crashes if you're doing this on PC. Sometimes I've seen where people kind of like have a missync, I guess. It could be from different internet connections or whatnot, but you may find yourself, like if you're with, let's say you have John tribe mate, and you and John are trying to get out there, and he's carrying you with the Argent, and both of you crash, or one of you crashes, you'll die during, of course, if the computer crashes. But you may notice it happen with John, but it may not happen with Billy. Billy may be able to pick you up, and you guys can tame just fine. I've just noticed, that's just a little warning for you guys. I have noticed that some people tend to crash more than others, and so you want to watch out who you group up with if that seems to happen. But basically, when you're out there and they're carrying you around, you're going to want to shoot the Quets with the rifle. Make sure you're going for like the shoulders, between the shoulder blades on the Quets when you're aiming. I wouldn't go for headshots are the best, but the problem with headshots or hitting anywhere other than like the back or between the shoulders is that some of the shots just don't count. You'll sit there and you hit it, the bird takes off, or sometimes the bird doesn't even take off, and it's just not counting. It's kind of like a glitch with the hitbox on the Quetses, basically. Now, if you happen to have a Quets already, you can do a solo tame if you build a. I got a video here where I'm actually showing you how you can get. You can take this. You can build a platform saddle on your Quets, build like a cage on it, sort of, but leave a part of it open. Fly in, have the Quets like fly into your cage. Jump off your mount real quick, not falling down, but just to get off of it, and then hurry up and try to build, throw a couple of walls, or some people use door frames up to trap it in there, and then you can shoot it while it's in there. And you can try that way as well. I'm not sure if it's still working or not. I had issues trying to get it to work for this video. It used to be something that would work. However, if you do happen to get it and it knocks out while you're on in the air like that, you can't move your quets because basically the quets will fall through if you move it at all. So you basically, if you can get it down while it's on the platform, you got to stay there until it wakes up. So you'll perform the entire tame there. That's about it, unless you have a mod like there's some trank mods out there that give you stronger trank darts, and if that's the case, especially with a rifle, you can shoot from the ground in some areas. If you can see a quetch, you can actually shoot them from the ground and get them down that way. Just make sure that when you do get a quetch down, you want to build like some cheap walls around it real quick to keep anything from coming to get it, because quetch tames are already hard enough, and if you lose those bonus levels from a raptor coming along and biting it, or a saber tooth or something, it's really going to piss you off. But yeah, that's basically how you do with quets. Alright, so now you know how to tame most land animals, and we've done some in the air. Now it's time to tame things underwater. So the first sea creature I usually advise you to tame, other than like one of the dolphins, would be a megalodon. These guys generally hang out near the shore, and you don't need a whole lot to tame them except for a crossbow and trank arrows. You can actually use a rifle and trank darts, but you have to make sure that you draw the shark up close enough to the shore to where he kind of breaches. Sometimes they get stuck on the shore a little bit, and they're kind of breached, so you can steadily shoot them with that, and it is faster if you can use that, but ultimately you're probably going to be using a crossbow and darts. So with these items in hand, spot a megalodon. Sometimes they're easier to spot from air if you've already got an air dino that you can ride around on and see them. Land on the shore there. The south is a pretty good spot for them because there's not much on the shore that's really going to do much to you. It's a good place for you to kind of set up there. So choose one along the beach, and you will have to look out for manta rays now. Since they've introduced them, they like to hang out around the shore as well. So if you want, you may want to, if you see like a really good shark and you see some manta rays swimming around it, you may just want to try to attract the manta rays up to the shore. And they basically almost kill themselves by coming out of the water a little bit. If not, you can sit there and stab them as they come up. But you do want to kind of clear the air because you don't want to be trying to swim out there to attract a megalodon's attention. And you don't want to swim out too far. You want to try to find one that's close to shore. And once it has your attention, it's got a pretty good aggro range, and they're going to come after you. And so, just keep the area kind of clear. Get the megalodons to spot you. They're going to come after you. As soon as they start coming towards you, go ahead and swim back, depending on your speed. If your speed's up pretty high, you can kind of screw around with it. If you've got scuba gear on, you can actually just swim out to it and just keep circling it because you're usually pretty fast. Also, with that, their turn radius is really bad, so that's another thing on your behalf there. But as soon as they come after you, swim back to the shore. You'll have your crossbow or your rifle ready. They kind of come up, breach a little bit sometimes, and then they start swimming back out after you're shooting them. You can, if you're not feeling too brave, you can wait until they turn around and start swimming back out before you start shooting them. They have to be facing you in order to really bite you. Sometimes on the side they can kind of get you, but you're pretty good if you're kind of worried about that. If they get stuck on the shore, that's great. Just don't get in their face and tear them up, shoot them really fast. Yeah, you want to do that. So I think about a 1-to-1 ratio of arrows to the level of the shark is pretty good, measure to go by. You can use an app, of course, to get a more precise number. But so if you have like a level 50 shark, you take 50 arrows out there, and assuming you don't miss, you should be pretty good and be able to get it down with that. So yeah, just let it swim out, shoot it, it'll come back towards you, get out of the way, come up to the shore a little bit so you can actually run freely without swimming. It'll turn back around, get out there, shoot it, and you just rinse and repeat and keep doing that. Once you have it down, you're really going to want to tame it with prime meat. So maybe if you brought your Argent with you, you can get some prime meat real quick with that, or have a buddy bring you some. Megalodons kind of take a little bit longer to tame than some of the other animals do, but prime definitely helps, and you definitely want all the levels you can get on them, especially since the megalodons kind of have the manta rays that can attack them, and low-level megalodons are kind of getting tore up by manta rays at the moment, so you definitely want to get some levels on them as soon as you do tame one. But yeah, that's how you tame a megalodon, and I'll go into deep sea creatures next. Okay, so now you have your megalodon and you're ready to go deeper. You want to get those pearls, you want to get more oil down there, and maybe some of the other animals that are down there. Deep sea creatures, you're gonna need scuba gear, no way around it. So you're gonna have to wait until either you can make it yourself. I think it's level 75, I believe, you make scuba gear, or some other person on the island that's higher level can do it for you. I honestly like to ride my Megalodon down instead of using the scuba gear to get down, because you run out of stamina. And so using the shark as your stamina regen is pretty smart, because if you're running out, just jump on the shark, gain it back up really fast, and then you can jump off and swim. So let's say you're going to tame like a Plessy, like I'm doing here in the video. Alright, so park your shark a little bit out of the range, and then swim down and get the Plessy's attention. I like to do this kind of along the shelf there, the continental shelf that drops off. That way there you can kind of swim up against it, and you have a point of reference, because you can get turned around really easy underwater as well. And so just get their attention, just like you did the sharks earlier. The thing about Plessies or the other deep sea creatures, they usually kind of have like an area they stay in, and once you go above that level, they turn back. They don't follow you all the way up the shore by no means. So get the Plessy's attention, swim towards the shelf a little bit. You can try to shoot them a little bit in the face if you want as you're swimming backwards, but if you swim backwards, you're going to go slower. Otherwise, wait till they turn around and be ready to swim after them and get as many shots in as you can, because this can take a while depending on the level of Plessy. I think most of the time you're going to find that Plessies are around level 35. That seems to be their base level. But you're going to definitely just keep rinse and repeat. Just, swim out to them, let them get your attention. Sometimes they take off kind of like after you've shot them, and they turn around and swim back. Sometimes they swim out pretty far, so you definitely want to watch your stamina before you swim out after them, because the last thing you need is to be coming back and to run out of stamina and a Plessy's on your ass, and I mean it's going to mess you up pretty good. But yeah, you just keep doing this back and forth. Just make sure if you do have your shark anywhere nearby that it's not going to be within range, so the Plessy decides to go take bites out of your shark, unless your shark's just buffed on health and you just want to use it as a tank kind of. You can do that as well. But otherwise, leave it up there, and you also want to make sure your shark is on passive. So if it does get attacked, and that's another reason you really don't want to leave your shark either, in case manta rays show up or something else, other megalodons or something that want to come up and start hitting it. And if you're out of range, you may want to make sure you're familiar with being able to whistle for it to attack, just in case you're out of range and you're on your way back and you see it sitting there getting attacked and it's all bloody or whatnot. But yeah, that's sea creatures. They're pretty easy. Alright, so that pretty much concludes this taming guide. I didn't really handle gigas, as I normally don't even tame them. There is a very nice YouTube video on solo taming gigas that can also be used in a group. Basically, it involves you making the smaller metal dino gateways, not the actual gates, just the gateways. And you basically put 3 of them down. You have someone who's got their speed built up on their character pretty fast, or they can ride a mount that can attract the giga's attention and used as bait. And then so the giga chases after this person runs through those 3 dino gateways, and then you have another brave soul or foolish soul who will throw on the 4th one to trap it inside. And once it's trapped in these metal gates, it can't get out, and then you're free to sit there and shoot it. So that's a pretty good way to get gigas. Another way to get gigas is if you have a Quits and you're on a platform saddle, you can stand above one and just shoot it in the face. That works pretty good too, and that you can stand on those and you can take down a lot of stuff like that. T-Rexes, Brontos. That's another good way to tame Brontos, is to have a platform saddle and just stand on top of it out of range and shoot. Remember, when it comes to taming, being out of range is your friend. I mean, that's how it works. Even, whether you're using a taming pin, taming trap, a platform saddle, being out of range and being able to shoot a dino that's just kind of like hung up on you and can't really, get you, and you can just sit there and steadily shoot in the face, that's taming. I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. But anyway, check out my other art guides and make sure you share the love and spread the word. And if you have any questions about taming, anything in particular, throw it down in the comments below, and I'm pretty good about answering fast. So anyways, thanks guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.